everybody, and welcome back once again to the Absolute Karting Podcast. Hope you're all having a wonderful evening and you've had a great week. I've literally just come back to the UK, fresh from the first round of the Champions of the Future season 2022. Congratulations to the Winter Series winners out in Franciacorta, to Maciej Gladys of Poland in the OK Junior category, OK Senior winner, Tomasz Stolczymanis of Latvia, and of course, Simu Puhaka, the dominant force in KZ2. It was a fantastic weekend, and we hope you all enjoyed it. Right, we're going to get ourselves into episode 2, which is all about the Ultimate Karting Championship, which is kicking off this weekend at Whilton Mill. In just a short while, we'll be hearing from Freddie Housley of Sam Pollitt Racing, who's going to be there this weekend, and I'll be sitting down with my co-commentator for this weekend at Whilton Mill, Kai Bachini, as we run through the runners and riders and who is likely to be on the pace here this weekend. But first of all, we're going to kick off with an interview with one of the favourites for this weekend in Minimax. Earlier on, I caught up with young Noah Wolfe, one of the stars of cadet racing in 2021. Well, one of the names to watch out for this weekend at Whilton Mill is Noah Wolfe, one of the stars of cadet karting last year. Now he's in Minimax. Things are going to be very different. Hi, Noah. How are things with you?
Really good, thanks, Jake. It's been interesting. Couple of weekends practicing for the big championships this year.
So last weekend, we saw you out at Whilton Mill in the Whilton Mill Kart Club weekend. It was pretty treacherous out there. Tell us about how it all went.
Well, the weekends got off to a good start where I was decent in practice. We were fast all weekend, and that set us off really well. And then in the heats, we managed to come through a lot to get the top threes we needed to start to get to the front, so we can start at the front. And then in the final, I just pieced the job together and got in the lead and won.
It's a really tricky track to get right, Whilton Mill, because it involves an awful lot of hard work in terms of back in the pits, but then also behind the wheel. Do you enjoy Whilton Mill as a challenge?
Yeah. Then I think the biggest challenge for it is the physical side, because it's so fast and flowing. You need to be quite physical.
Also, and it's still really fresh this for you heading into Minimax. This is still a really new class, because last year everybody knew you as the king of cadet. You were absolutely on it last year. Tell us about 2021 and how you reflect on it. What are you proud of? How big a change has it been to step up?
Yeah. All right. At the start of the year, we didn't get off to a good start at all. We weren't fast, but then we came back from it strong. And then towards the middle and the end of the year, we started getting the wins in, making the progress, learning. And I think what made me better than everyone is you learn more from failing than you do from succeeding. And I learned a lot when I wasn't the best, and that made me get better. And then I got to the top.
It's a really, really wise outlook, actually. And last year, it really seemed to come good in the summer, particularly when you started getting to Kartmasters. I mean, how do you look back at Kartmasters now? That must have been an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's quite good feeling though. You get known for a double GP plate, which is good. And I just couldn't believe it.
There's not many people in the world of racing that can say they've done the double in the same weekend. I think there's only about 5 or 6 people that have ever managed it. So well done. Coming into 2022 now, everything has changed a little bit. So tell us a little bit about what your program is going to look like this year.
So this year, I'm mainly staying in Britain. We might do Le Mans and World Finals, but apart from that, we're staying in UK and doing a lot of the British Championships like UKC, LGM and British Kart Championships.
So that's an interesting one, because obviously with UKC, it's all Rotax based, but with LGM, it's all X30 based.
All X30.
So, exactly. So this year, you're actually going to have a very diverse racing season.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think if they do have a crosshead, if they do cross and they're both on the same weekend, we might go the Rotax, because there'll be at UKC, there's like 70 people there, where in LGM, there's only about 16 X30s.
So is the reason that you're doing the 2 classes essentially to give you as much seat time as possible, or are you trying as hard as you can to do as many different types of racing as possible?
I'm not too sure. I think we to look at it, we do 2 classes mainly because it's the difference in the karts, and once you get good at switching karts, then when in your future, one weekend you might be driving a Renault, next weekend you could be driving a Williams, and to have the difference in the car and to change quickly, it's a good technique.
It certainly is. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. It's a really good strategy. So obviously a lot of drivers I've spoken to have told me that driving the X30 car and driving the Rotax car are very, very different, even though they look identical. So what is the main difference from a driver's perspective? How would you describe it?
I would say the big difference is the throttle. The throttle, you have to feed it in quite slowly. In the Rotax, where in the X30 it's a bit like cadets, where you can just put it down and it goes. And in Rotax you also have to lift the flap up if it gets too hot, where in X30 you don't need to worry about that.
And interestingly, you're doing both classes, but which do you prefer as a driver? Which one excites you the most?
The racing is great in the Rotax. I love the racing in the Rotax, but to drive, I like the X30, the driving, because also there's a difference in the brake, and the brake I quite like on the X30.
Interesting. No, it sounds like you've got a really good handle on it already. So coming into 2022, obviously you've done some testing, you've done a couple of club events. The first big challenge now is this weekend in the Ultimate Karting Championship. This is the first big one. How confident are you coming into it now that you've done all of the work that you've done in January and February?
I think I just look at it as a normal weekend. There's no reason to put all the pressure on as it's a bigger championship, because we just take it as the race comes, do my part, prepare for it, and then once we're there, focus on the job, and we normally should be good.
Now, one of the things I love about karting is the fact that drivers will prepare for a big race weekend like this by going and competing at the club event that took place a week or two beforehand, which is something that doesn't really happen in cars. How big an advantage is that to be able to go and race at the track a week before?
It's a massive advantage.
Yeah, why is that?
Because the setup, the setups, you have more time on the track to get the setups right. Different drivers, where they're good and where they're bad, and you know how to beat them.
Sounds interesting. You come into this weekend knowing that the field for this weekend is going to be huge. There is such a big entry list for Minimax this weekend. I'm sure you've already looked through it and figured out who's going to be the tough ones to go for. Who do you see as the toughest opponents this weekend? Who's really going to be pushing you?
Finn Leslie, he's a great driver. His teammate Freddie Housley, maybe. Zach Green, I'm not sure if he's on there, but I think he is probably. Joshua Graham, Harrison Whitcomb. All them drivers are really good drivers.
And as you race against these guys over the course of the season, I mean, I've been told that yes, there's rivalry, but there's also a lot of friendships that build. You must be getting to know a lot of the Minimax guys quite well. What's the community spirit like in the paddock?
Well, on track, you don't really know. You're no friends when the visor's down, but back in the paddock, we're all mates, and like normally we go play football at the backfield, and it's quite good.
That's awesome. So towards the end of this year, obviously having had such a busy program, doing UKC and LGM and doing the British Kart Championships as well, what's the target? Obviously you're going to be doing your first year in Minimax. Do you expect to win multiple titles this year, or is this very much a sort of a path up towards Junior Max next year?
Well, it'd be lovely to get the wins, but yeah, we do want the wins, and we're aiming to get good. We're preparing for the future, really. I take it as every race we just get better, learn from it, and the more you learn, the better you are.
That's it. And of course, one of the big advantages you've got this year is you have a fantastic team around you. I mean, you're going to be in one of the strongest squads in the 2022 karting season. Tell us a bit about how you're settling in.
Yeah, the Synergy car, the Synergy team, I was the first one in it. It's starting this year, and I was the first one in it. and I've now got a teammate called Jack West, and he was racing last weekend. He's very fast, and yeah, it's nice having a big team around you, and it's good knowing in the future Synergy might be the best team in Minimax, and knowing that I was the first driver in it is really special.
Is that one of the big attractions for being in Synergy? For you to be in a team that's already established is one thing, but to start with something from scratch, to kind of build something up, is that a real motivation?
Yeah, it's a real motivation. And of course, I was with Synergy last year in cadets. I know how it works. And that's probably the big advantage of when you sign a new team.
It's really exciting. I think a lot of people have already been talking about it. So heading into this weekend, knowing that the weather could be a bit patchy, but having raced last week, you obviously know what to expect. Just what do you think are your chances this weekend? You obviously did well last time. How do you think you'll fare coming into UKC?
I think we should be good. We should be fighting for the wins. We should be trying to get up there, but we don't know until we've done the testing and practice, until the weekend really starts, really.
Well, confidence is the main thing. We're going to be there, obviously, this weekend with UKC, so we'll be keeping an eye on your progress. It's great to catch up with you, Noah. I'm sure we'll pop in from time to time over the course of the season as well, but good luck and have a great weekend at Whilton.
Thank you.
Well, the Ultimate Karting Championship is kicking off this weekend at Whilton Mill, and to preview it, we thought we'd give you a rundown of all of the classes and all of the drivers that will be coming up on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. And I thought I'd get assistance, I should say, from my commentary partner this weekend, Kai Bachini. Kai, great to talk to you, mate.
Yeah, it's great to speak to you once again, Jake. We haven't spoken a while now, so I can't wait for this weekend to come. It's been long in waiting for the start of the Ultimate Karting Championship once again. We had a brilliant season in 2021, and 2022 has a lot to offer.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good season, and it starts right from the bat with all of the championships combining this weekend for this one. They've actually slimlined it so that it's predominantly the Rotax and Honda Cadet classes coupled with Soda UKC. So it should be really interesting to see how it all kicks off. Let's look straight away with the Honda Cadet category as our first point of call. It's a very busy grid this year with a lot of new faces. You've got the likes of Lachlan Johnston and Jacob Giblett-Lee leading off with their teammates, Ralphie Granger and Kieran Stewart at SFR Motorsport. They'll obviously have a massive team in there. Ria Licata in the grid there as well. Noah Barham's going to be part of the Synergy Racing team along with Max Endicott. Some big talents there along with Luca Holmes-Balak as well. You've got some big drivers in this class. Ashley Haas is going to be one of the key privateers to watch out for in Honda Cadet, I reckon. Alexander Kodjikov, Finn Smith and Max Cuthbert are going to be part of the SFR lineup as well. And you'll see the big guns from Jarrett Clark in Synergy Racing, as well as Samuel Lodiyi is going to be one of the new faces at Kato Motorsport. So keep an eye out there. Passion Motorsport have come out with a really strong team as well with their Synergy chassis. Brendan James, Charlie King, and also Oliver Majewski and Oliver Spencer amongst their talent. Should be a really interesting Honda Cadet weekend, Kai. Who do you fancy for this one?
Oh, there's so many names to pick and choose from in this field. Honda Cadets, it's always been a very close field and very raw racing from these drivers. It's some of their first years in karting and they're still developing as drivers. So racecraft is always a bit touch and go in the Honda Cadet class. SFR Motorsport, once again, always out in force in this class. As you mentioned, Max Endicott, he has the Shennington lap record and was 600ths off the lap record at Whilton Mill. So we know he has the pace going into this season. So it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do on the results side. Lachlan Johnstone, as you mentioned, raced in UKC in 2021 in the Honda Cadet once again. So it's going to be his second year in this championship. Managed to finish 6th last year. So let's see if he's able to improve on that result. But Max Cuthbert, you can't look over this name. He's changed over to SFR Motorsport on the Zenon chassis. He used to race for Fusion Motorsport and obviously used to race on the Synergy chassis. But going into this season, he's the number 1 seed. So surely he's going to be the number 1 driver to beat.
Yeah, there's a few other names that are worth picking out of the hat as well to have a look at. You're obviously seeing all of the names for this weekend on your screen if you're watching along on YouTube. But you've got Finley Lines there for the Synergy Racing team. He's definitely going to be one of the drivers up at the sharp end, as will Rocco Shennington leading away for the Zipkart squad. And there's some decent privateers coming into this weekend as well. You've got the likes of Leo Massey, Ewan House, Charlie Wolfe. There are some really strong names, and there's going to be quite a few gunning for that top spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers coming into the season with the approach of lad and dad racing, showing that you don't need to be in a big team to be up at the front of this field. And going into the first round at Whilton Mill, it's a fast and flowing circuit. And it's not always about teamwork around this track. It's all about trying to make your opportunities on the track and arrive and pass in the terms of some of these drivers trying to make their way through the field.
So let's focus a little bit on the Soda UKC Academy. It's going to be a brand new challenge for a lot of these guys, many of them stepping into this kind of category for the first time. We have got a few teams this year, which is the interesting addition to the Soda UKC Academy. Last year was all pretty much one operation. Dan Minto is returning, and you've got also the talents of Jaden Sherwood coming in after last year. But a lot of the faces are new for this season, which is great because it gives us a completely blank canvas coming into 2022. So watch out for this category. There is some big names that are going to be emerging as the year goes on. Let's turn our attention to Minimax because there is a massive amount of competition in this one and some big teams coming in. At Argenti, you've got the likes of Matthias Mazanskas and Alexander Zingarevich, along with Aras Majauskis. So there's some big teams going up against the established guard of Project One, Coles Racing, Sam Pollitt, Saltire Motorsport, Ultimate R. They're all going to be putting some really good talents in. But of course, you've mentioned this already in our chat prior to this, but one of the big names to watch out for is Noah Wolfe of Synergy Racing, who we've just heard from. Now, this is a very interesting season. He's coming in as a new driver in a new team to this category, but they've already come in very quick.
Yeah, Noah Wolfe may be entering in a new team on a new chassis, but he's definitely not new to the world of karting. He has established his name already so early on in his career as well. Last year, made a massive impact in the cadet field, managed to get third in the British Champs in the Miami cadet class, second in the Honda cadet class as well. Also raced out in Europe. He competed in the Miami World Final and managed to finish 10th. So some great racing from him so far at such a young age as well. It'll be interesting to see what he's able to do in this competitive field. Taylor Orridge, he's racing on the Mad Croc chassis under a privateer once again. He finished 5th in the season last year. Mini X30, so he's changing over to the Mini Max, just a little bit different engines. So let's see if he's able to maybe replicate a result like that and was able to have a best finish of a P1 last season.
And with so many different talents coming in Minimax as well, you've got some established names that are stepping up. I mean, we have obviously some teams that we are very, very well versed with. Coles Racing have pulled in the likes of Josh Turnbull. Hugh Moulton will be in the mix there as well. But let's talk about people like Freddie Housley for Sam Pollitt Racing, along with his teammates, Emily Cooper, Luke Sawyers. So many strong drivers within this team. You're going to have a very, very competitive lineup. You've also got Thomas Mintz-Spearing, who's now at Argenti Motorsport in Minimax. He's definitely one to watch out for me as well.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a battle of the big teams in this field. As you were mentioning in the Sam Pollitt Racing team, we've got Finn Leslie. He raced in the class last year, raced in Mini X30, managed to finish 6th in the championship. So he'll be going head-to-head in the Sam Pollitt Racing colours. But Argenti, probably one of the most established teams in karting through even the world of karting, not just here in the UK. So let's see if they're able to make an impact in this field as well.
And let's not forget, one team that we haven't mentioned yet is KR Sport. You're going to have Thomas Bearman and Sebastian Mintz, two incredibly established talents already, and they are making massive progress. They could be dark horses for the weekend. There's also Josh Turnbull. I've got a bit of a sneaky suspicion that he is going to be very, very strong in 2022. He came out of the blocks last year as one of the surprises of 2021 in British cadet racing. He's got real potential this year.
Yeah, it'll be great to see what he's able to do in such a competitive field. Minimax, probably the mid-step between cadets and junior racing. 67 entries we have this season. So many drivers that are going to have a swing at taking that championship title. You mentioned for KR Sport, Thomas Bearman and Sebastian Mintz. Thomas Bearman, obviously following in the footsteps of his brother, Oliver Bearman, who we've seen with great success all the way through motorsport so far, currently racing in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. So it'll be good to see what he's able to do. And Sebastian Mintz races in the Junior X30 class out in Europe. So he's actually taken a step down in the classes as he's moving down to the mini instead of the juniors.
I'm going to throw three more names at you that are definitely worth a little bit of a cheeky look. Harry Cottrell for Passion Motorsport. He could lead the team forward this weekend at Whilton Mill. Definitely got some potential there. For Jack Dex Racing, you've got Lucas Blandford. He's definitely one to keep an eye on in the MS car. And obviously Taylor Orridge, the privateer on the Mad Croc. Now, he has come straight into Minimax with a bit of a point to prove, and he's already taking names out there.
Yeah, Orridge, he's been very good so far. At the beginning of the season, he's already made great gains in terms of pace just the way through 2020. He was great in 2021, so I'll be interested to see what he's able to put down on the table.
Awesome. Let's have a little focus on Junior Rotax. Again, it's the who's who of Rotax Junior Racing in Great Britain, this category. You've got Gabe Fairbrother in there. You've got the Hunter Motorsport duo of Steve Duncan and Gustav Usakov. Sophie Kinghorn has switched back to Saltire Motorsport. Interesting. I thought she'd still be at Argenti this year, but she's made the switch across. You've got some big talent coming up through the ranks as well. Connor Leishman, Lucas Jex. You've got to look further down the ranks as well. Ethan Simmons for Chaos Sport. He's sure to be a very, very strong contender. I've got a little bit of money this year on Aditya Kulkarni. He was amazing in last year's TKM Festival. He switched across to Junior Rotax with Argenti Motorsport. He could be an absolute firecracker.
It's going to be all about who can adapt to the kart the quickest. Obviously, jumping from the TKM class to the Junior Rotax class, it's a massive jump, and adapting to the karts is definitely going to be a challenge. But if he's able to hit this one head on and challenge at the front of the field, it will be great to see.
But this is the thing. We've got the Junior Rotax category, which is the most populous class this weekend. It's over 100 drivers competing. Who do you fancy with so many competitive talents on the grid, Kai?
Oh, there's so many names that we need to look at with so many entries. The largest class that we have coming into the 2022 season of the Ultimate Karting Championship. Gabe Fairbrother, let's throw his name up there, racing for the Ultimate R team. He was third in the 2022 UKC Championship, second in the 2021 UKC Championship. Let's see if he's able to make it one better this time round. Stephen Duncan, he was second in the British Champs Minimax class, so he'll be jumping up a Junior Rotax for this season and represented Great Britain in the Rotax Mass Challenge Grand Final in Portugal. And you can't forget about Gustav Usakov. He was fourth in the 2021 season of UKC and is making a return for the Hunter Motorsport team.
Yeah, there's two particular category drivers in Junior Rotax that I want to pick out and have a bit of a word about. The Charmander, Ewan Charman. He's been absolutely mega with Argenti Motorsport. He's really settled in there. Last year was a bit of a groundbreaking year for him to kind of bed himself in. Now he knows the car. He knows the team. This could be a championship run for him in 2022 without any problem at all for Ewan Charman. He has a good opportunity. But for this weekend in particular, moving back to his beloved Jack Dex Racing team is Alfie Briggs. He absolutely adores this circuit. He knows it like the back of his hand. He could really start a title attack if he comes out of the blocks in the sort of form that we expect to see him at. Whilton Mill is his playground. Could he win the whole thing in Junior Rotax this weekend?
Yeah, Alfie Briggs, it's his home circuit, so he's going to be racing on home soil. I'm sure he'll have some family and friends supporting him at the circuit, and it's been great to see him evolve through the ranks in karting. He's now up to Junior Rotax, but he's been with this JDR team for quite a while now, racing on this MX kart. So he has experience about the chassis, has experience in the team. So hopefully that's going to be a benefit for him going into it.
Yeah, there's some other big names to pick out of the hat. You've got to look at people like Joe Garraway, who's one of the best privateers in British karting. Gracie Mitchell, she's likely to be quite strong for Sam Pollitt Racing in the Expert, to be fair. Alex Duncan for Argenti. Cruz Speakman for Coles Racing on the Tony car. You look through the mix as well, and you find some very, very big names further down the entry list. This is the thing with so many drivers in the list. You really have to do your homework here. Harrison Crowther, definitely going to be one to fight. Reese Bailey for the Saltire Motorsport team. Aaron McKay for the LM Motorsport team, or Aaron Mackay, I should say. I always make that mistake. Zaki Hussein for Crop Promotion. He's been coming on massively quickly. So, yeah, pick a winner. It's so difficult. Look at Alfie Gallagher in Chaos Sport, Joe Rippin in MLC Motorsport. So many big names in this. And one of the guys that could steal it from all of them is Jack Hobson. Jack Hobson's been absolutely rapid, certainly towards the end of last year. You've also got Archie Clark in the Cato Motorsport, the Expert chassis. He's had a really neat transition into Junior Rotax. There's so many to choose from.
Yeah, there is too many drivers in this field to put your finger on one name and say they are going to win this championship, because I think it's going to be all up in the air until we come down to the final couple of rounds of this championship. Maybe even going down to the final round, this championship will not be decided until there. Sam Pollock Racing have some of the most ruthless drivers in this field and some of the strongest drivers in this field. We've got Ted Bradbury. He's had brilliant pace over the course of this season so far. Just had a few rounds and recently won the Whilton Mill round 2 of the championship. Absolutely walked the class in junior Rotax. We also have Charlie Hart joining him alongside. We've got Bella Franklin and Grady Mitchell, both recently making the switch from the JDR car, and both with brilliant pace since settling in the team well.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be an absolutely mega weekend in Junior Rotax. I can't predict a winner, and that is always when it's at its best. Let's look at Senior Rotax, because it's a fairly similar story, just with slightly fewer drivers on the grid. But just looking at the first page of this entry list, you've got enough people to fill the podium twice. Gilbert, Hunter, Harvey, Rennie, Hamera, Meadows. I mean, Scusa is in that mix as well. Scusa could really throw a surprise or two. You've got John Knox in there. He can be really strong on his day. Lorenzo Cordell at Cato Motorsport. He's definitely going to be fighting for the win. Ben Doughty, even though he's in a privateer by the look of it, he's going to be very, very competitive right from the get-go. Amelia Nelson could be a real wild card for the win here in the Zip Car. She has had an incredible end to 2021. Her form is strong. Her confidence is growing. She could even spring a surprise or two this weekend. If she gets qualifying right, anything is possible. You've got Jamie Perrelli. You've got Caden McQueen, who just has victory written through him like Blackpool Rock. There are so many guys on this grid that can challenge for the win.
Yeah, just looking at this entry list, it makes my face light up with joy as we look through the drivers. So many of them that will be battling up at the front end. As you said, you mentioned Lorenzo Cordell. He'll be switching over to the senior Rotax class after he finished second in the 2021 junior X30 field in the Ultimate Karting Championship. So I think he'll be settling into this class. It will be a bit of a learning curve for Cordell going into this season, but I think he'll definitely be up at the front end from the get-go.
Absolutely. And then you look through the established guard in senior. You've got people like Teddy Pritchard-Williams, who's always very quick on his day, the Welshman. You've got Sam Hawthorne, who's settling in beautifully at Argenti Motorsport now. That team is pretty much his own in senior Rotax at the moment. And then you've got some incredible competitors around the mix there as well. You've got the likes of Harrison Crook, Ethan Ling, Jake Gresty, these really strong privateers who come good on the weekend when the opportunity rises. You've got Sam Gornall and Brandon Nagelvoort for Coles Racing. They're going to be strong. Charlie Rippin is going to be in there for MLC Motorsport. Alex Moody will be there for Cato. Freya Belk will be in there for Hunter. So many talented drivers coming in. And again, it's Whilton Mill, so it's going to be ridiculously unpredictable. Ryan Garvey could even throw his weight into the mix. Kian Sang is one of the stronger privateers. Andrew Hughes will be leading the march for Racing Perfection on the Birolart chassis, and they're going to have a very strong competition from Project One. You've got Ryan Willis now stepping into senior Rotax out of junior. I just don't know who to call. Again, the smart money's on Caden McQueen, but all you've got to have is a decent run from Gilbert, from Kai Hunter, from Maciek Amera, who's getting stronger and stronger. There are so many drivers who could go for the win.
Yeah, Caden McQueen, some may say that he's going to walk this race, but I definitely think he's going to have his work cut out for him, and he's going to have to try his best and definitely put some effort into this weekend. But making it his home circuit, Whilton Mill, Lucas Ellingham on the JDR chassis, actually mechanics his own car. So a driver and a mechanic at the same time. He's had brilliant pace always at this circuit, probably one of the main circuits that he drives right now. So I definitely think that we keep an eye on him as an underdog.
Fantastic. Well, it's all going to be happening over the course of the weekend. The only place you can get to hear me and Kai in action is on the PA at Whilton Mill. So if you want to hear us in action, you've got to show up. You know what to do. Come down to Whilton Mill on Saturday and you will be a guest of the Ultimate Karting Championship. Kai, thank you so much for running through everything, and I will see you on the weekend, buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jake, and I can't wait for this one.
So one of the favourites heading into the UKC kickoff this weekend at Whilton Mill is Freddie Housley, fresh off the back of his great Whilton Mill Kart Club event last weekend. Freddie, how are things and how was it last week?
Things are good, thank you, Jake. And last weekend was good, coming away with a third, a fifth and a DNF in the heats. So I think we got 8th in the final, but a bumper penalty put us back to 21st. So last weekend was a positive, definitely.
And obviously, these are the kind of weekends that you need to use as a driver in order to prepare for the big championships. So how important is it to get things right during a kart club weekend? How important are those events for you?
They're very important because obviously you can tweak setups on the Friday and Saturday, and you're going to be racing against the same people that you're going to be racing at the big event. So it's like a simulation pretty much.
And this weekend, obviously, having had the weekend previously, how much more prepared do you guys feel you can be heading into the first round of Ultimate Karting Championship?
Me personally, I feel so much more prepared being one of the fastest in every race this last weekend and coming through in the final after a collision. Yeah, but we think the speed's there and we can get first this weekend.
Now, looking at the entry list for this weekend, it looks pretty mega. You've got some of the best Minimax drivers in the entire country racing in this first round of the championship. How excited does that get you in terms of knowing, you're going to be pitched against the top drivers in the country?
Yeah, it gets me really excited, to be fair, because it's going to be good racing. And I think I'm just going to have a good time.
And obviously this year, you're working very closely with James Bean, who's got a massive amount of experience in British karting, has been there and done it all, raced in the same era as, when Hamilton was coming through. So just having that wealth of experience behind you, that must be such a game changer.
Yeah, he assures me because he's been through all these, this thing with people, like all of the other drivers with like George Russell. So he's been through this stage of turning up at the front in the first year of like Minimax, you could say.
Now, going into Whilton Mill, obviously, we're obviously looking forward to the weekend. It's a very tricky circuit, very technical. What makes it such a challenge for a driver?
Definitely, it's very flowing, but also there is tight and hard corners, like the downhill left after the double. So the second left after Ashby, I think it is. That's quite a tricky corner because you have to turn very late for it, and then you get a good exit into the boot.
So how important is setup at Whilton Mill? Is it one of those circuits where you can be quite fluid in terms of the balance of the kart, or do you have to really nail it to get the best out of it?
You do have to really nail it to get the best out of it. And yeah, especially if you nail the setup, then it gives you a good run up into Christmas. The first sector is quite reliant on setup, so you can get a good run up to Christmas. And the tight sections as well can be good with setup because obviously it's sprocket.
And this weekend, it's obviously still early March, so the weather could be very interesting. Does that add an extra challenge to it? Is that something that you relish in these conditions?
Yeah, I think it's going to add a bit of a challenge if it rains, but I'm quite confident around Wilton in the wet. There's a lot of grip. It's not like PF where there's no grip at all. So I think we've done a few laps around Wilton in the wet, and I think I'm quite confident.
Now, the question that I have to ask, being a journalist and a broadcaster, about Whilton Mill, the final bend at Whilton Mill, it's been changed and edited so many times. And I can see you grinning already. I'm going to ask the obvious question. Having been there recently, obviously they made changes again last year to the final corner. As a driver, how does it feel now? Do you think they fixed it, or is there still work to do?
I don't know, when you hit that last corner curb, if you do, even if you just tickle it a bit, then it can send you flying and mess up your whole lap and potentially the whole race.
So essentially, it's still the biggest challenge in that part of the world. It was always a very tough corner, so it hasn't really changed that much.
Yeah, like the old curb, I think you could just go flat out over it, like straight over it, couldn't you? But now it's such a big curb, you only sometimes hit it in the wet.
Very fair enough. So obviously this weekend being the first round, is there pressure to get it right from the very first weekend, or because of how sparse the season is, how spread out the weekends are, do you feel that, you can come into this with a fairly reasonable result? You don't have to come and win everything first time out.
You don't have to win everything this time around, but obviously it would be a big boost for the start of the season if I do win. But we're not relying on winning.
This is the thing I've always found about you, is that over the course of a year, you start relatively quick. You were always in the top 10, but then over the course of a season, especially towards the end of last year, you really found your feet and really found your pace. And it was really rare to find you outside the top 3, top 5 in the heats. And certainly, even if the bad luck came in the final, you knew you were always going to be one of the competitives. What's changed in the last 12 months? Was it just the step into Minimax that you really have seemed to find comfortable?
Yeah, I definitely, going into Minimax halfway through the year was definitely a very good decision coming out of cadets, because I got COVID before the Larkle British round, I think. So we just decided to move up to Minimax, and it was great because then it was sunny, so the track was really grippy. So we did manage to get good results.
So coming into this weekend, obviously the objective is to win. How difficult do you think that's going to be, knowing all of the challenges that are ahead?
It is going to be quite difficult, but I think we can overcome them.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to it. We wish you all the best. We'll all be there rooting for you and cheering you on. Hopefully it's going to be a fantastic one for you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great to hear from Freddie, Housley, and of course from earlier in the show as well from Noah Wolfe. Very exciting to see how things are going to go for them at Whilton Mill this weekend. Let's give you a bit of a sneak preview as to all of the action that is going to be coming up in the Absolute Karting calendar over the course of the season. Obviously, we've been talking about the Ultimate Karting Championship. That kicks off this weekend at Whilton Mill. Then, of course, we switch to Warden Law in Sunderland in April, Glenagors Park in Wales on the 3rd weekend of May, and then it will be Rowrah in Cumbria on the 10th to the 12th of June, Clay Pigeon down in the south of England from the 29th to the 31st of July, and then Three Sisters on the 2nd weekend of August finishes off the championship. But there will be an additional event, the UKC Rotax National Trophy, which will take place at Warden Law on the 16th to 18th of September. Follow everything on the website ukcglobal.com and of course on UKC Official on Instagram, and you won't miss a moment of the season's developments. But it's not the only championship we're covering on the Absolute Karting podcast. We'll also be popping in with the LGM Series, the British home for Miami Racing. At Larkhall, it'll kick off on the 10th of April, PF International on the 1st of May. We travel to Warden Law 2 weeks later, Glenagors in Wales ahead of 2 weeks later, moving to Little Rissington on the airbase, and then at Rowrah in Cumbria to finish off on the 14th of August. If you want to keep up to date with everything that's happening there, their Instagram is Miami_series_UK, or you can head to the website lgmseries.com. So we'll be keeping an eye on UKC. We'll also be keeping an eye on LGM. But of course, we're also keeping one beady eye on the Weratools British Kart Championships. The Rotax and Honda categories will be sharing a calendar, and that is going to be starting on the 6th to 8th of May at PF International in Lincolnshire. Then we go to Larkhall in Scotland at the West of Scotland Kart Club in June. In July, we head to Warden Law in Sunderland at Clay Pigeon. It'll all be kicking off on the 26th to the 28th of August. 2 weeks later, the championship will reconvene at Kimbolton before a big season finale at Whilton Mill. And we'd like to congratulate everybody at Alpha Life Productions, who have once again confirmed they will be filming every single weekend of the action. So you'll be in the capable hands of Henry Baudet and Anthony Jordan on commentary duties. And they won't just be doing the Rotax and Honda weekends, they'll also be there for the IAMI, KZ2, TKM and Coma Bambino events, which will be taking place at various events across the calendar. Shennington on the 22nd to the 24th of April is when they kick off. Warden Law on the 20th and 22nd of May. Glenagors from the 17th to 19th of June. Rissington from the 1st to 3rd of July. Whilton Mill on the 3rd weekend of August. And then PF International will be the season finale from the 23rd to the 25th of September. Follow all of it at British Kart Championships on Instagram and of course on their website britishkartchampionships.org. Or you can keep up to date following the hashtag OurMotorsportUK and hashtag BritKartChamps. We won't just be focusing on the British events. Next week is the kickoff of the Rotax Max Challenge Euro Trophy at Genk, the home of champions in Belgium. After that, they will move on to Val d'Argenton on the 2nd weekend of May, then Marienburg in Belgium at Karting de Fagnes at the end of July, and Wackersdorf in Germany from the 25th to the 28th of August. We'll be catching up next week with our Rotax correspondent Alex Goldschmidt, who'll tell us all the latest from the world of Mini, Junior and Senior Max, as well as DD2 and DD2 Masters and the upcoming E20 Junior and Senior categories. So make sure you tune in next week. We'll be talking about the Rotax Euro Trophy with Alex Goldschmidt. We'll also be talking about the IAMI Euro Series with Guillaume Guillaume Alvarez, who was there at the Winter Cup in Valencia in February, and we are going to be previewing next week's season kickoff at Duera in Spain. Marienburg, Castelletto, and Genk are also on the calendar in May, July, and August for all things X30 Mini, Junior, and Senior. And of course, it's a nice precursor to the later Miami World Finals, which are going to be taking place at Le Mans once again this year, and of course the Miami iGames, which will switch to Campios in Spain. So that's also going to be coming up on next week's show. A preview to the Rotax Euro Trophy and the Miami Euro Series. It's going to be a really good edition next week. But again, those aren't the only international categories of karting that we're going to be covering. We'll catch up again with the Champions of the Future Series of Europe, which is taking place from Portimao on the 24th to 27th of March, at Duera in April, in Kristianstad in Sweden in May, and of course to Franciacorta, where we've just come from the Winter Series, will return from the 23rd to the 26th of June. A great championship. It's only in its third season, and of course it's a precursor to the major competition of World Karting, the FIA Karting European and World Championships, which of course Absolute Karting is going to be covering as well. So make sure you've got the Champions of the Future Euro Series dates in your diary, and as well as that, make sure you've also got the FIA Karting dates in your diary. It's going to be a busy year, starting at Portimao from the 7th to 10th of April, at Duera from the 28th of April to the 1st of May, then to Genk from the 12th to 15th of May for the first of the Gearbox and Academy weekends, at Kristianstad from the 2nd to 5th of June. It says Adria for the moment, but that is going to change in June, so we'll keep you up to date as to where that's going to change to. Franciacorta is the season finale of the OK Junior and OK Senior European campaign. Then the World Championship dates will be at Le Mans and Sarno in September. Follow it all, FIAkarting.com, and of course you can catch all the latest from it right here as well on the Absolute Karting podcast. So it's going to be a very busy year here on the podcast, and we are very much going to be part of that. So we are very excited to be with you for the entirety of the karting season. And of course, with it being the first part of the podcast, we told you last week that we have a competition. It's still running. Here are the details to win yourself one of these. One of these. I'm going to get the finger pointing in the right direction. It's that way round. One of these fantastic bags. If you want to win, all you have to do is check it out. We're giving away an Aston Martin Cognizant F1 Team Terminal Travel Bag, fresh from the Grand Prix squad, based out of Silverstone, and is used by Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll, and the entire squad, courtesy of OGO. It's hot off the shelves, very cool, and perfect for travel all around the world. All you've got to do for a chance to win is to like our social media posts, tag your mates, and subscribe to Absolute Karting to be entered into the draw. We'll announce the winner on our show on Wednesday, the 23rd of March, 2022. Good luck! So there you go, folks. You can get yourself one of those absolutely fantastic OGO Aston Martin Cognizant F1 bags. All you have to do is head to the website, absolutekarting.com, or you can like, subscribe, and share the posts on social media and tag your friends. You're going to be in with a chance to win that. We will announce it, as we mentioned, on the podcast on the 23rd of March. So make sure you are tuned in. But, of course, get your entries in if you want to win one of those bags. So that's it from episode 2 of the Absolute Karting podcast for now. Next week, I'll be joined by Alex Goldschmidt, who'll help me preview the Rotax European Trophy, and by Guillaume Alvarez, who'll help me preview the Miami Euro Series as we go back from Great Britain to Europe next week. But of course, we will still bring you some fantastic content from the Whilton Mill Ultimate Karting Championship season opener next week as well. And hopefully we'll have a panel of people to talk about front fairings. It is definitely going to be very, very busy. I know we were going to do it this week. We'll try and get it sorted for you next week. So, hope you've enjoyed the podcast. There's more where that came from. A massive thank you to my guests, to Freddie, Housley, and to Noah Wolfe. Can't wait to see you in action this weekend, boys. Make sure you tune in for me and Kai Bachini if you are trackside. And of course, Alan Tadei and the crew from TDI Media will be filming it all for YouTube for a mid-week release. So you can watch it all by the time Absolute Karting Episode 3 comes out. I'm Jake Sanson. Hope you've enjoyed the podcast. We'll do it all again next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Take care. See you soon.